Chapter 2. Strangers and Death. The strangers whom Bessa had spoken of arrived about an hour later. Everyone in the village came out of their houses to see the astonishing sight. Pale, unhealthy-looking men who carried large bundles and unusual-looking sticks as they marched into the center of the village. In spite of the welcoming greetings and looks of excitement on the faces of the villagers, the strangers did not smile. They smelled of danger, Amari thought, as one of them looked at her. He had eyes the color of the sky. She shuddered. However, the unusual-looking men were accompanied by warriors from the Ashanti tribe, men of her own land, men her people had known and traded with, so even if the village elders were concerned, it would be unacceptable not to show hospitality. Surely the Ashanti would explain, but good manners came first. Any occasion for visitors was a cause for excitement, so after the initial amazement and curiosity as the strange men, the village bubbled with anticipation as preparations were made for a formal welcoming ceremony. Amari stayed in the shadows, watching it all, uneasy but not sure why. Their chief, or Awamafaya, who could be spoken to only through a member of the Council of Elders, invited the guests to sit, and they were formally welcomed with wine and prayers. The chief and the Council of Elders, made up of both men and women, were always chosen for their wisdom and made all the important decisions. Amari was proud that her father, Komla, was one of the elders. He was also the village storyteller, and she loved to watch the expressions on his face as he acted out the stories she had heard since childhood. "We welcome you," the chief began. "Let your yes be yes and your no be no. May you be protected from evil, and may you live to a ripe old age. If you come in peace, we receive you in peace. Heroism is the dignity of our ancestors, and in their name we welcome you." He passed the wine made from palm tree leaves to Amari's father, then to the other elders, and finally to the strangers. The men with skin like the milk of goats and their Ashanti companions drank the palm wine from hand-carved gourds that had been decorated with ceremonial tribal designs. The newcomers then offered gifts to the chief, small ropes of sparkling beads unlike anything Amari had ever seen, casks of wine and links of fine cloth, so shiny and smooth that Amari marveled. She knew no human could have woven it. No real explanations for their presence had been given yet, but with the exchange of gifts, the feeling of unease began to lessen, and everyone knew that the dancing and drumming would soon begin. Ceremony was important. Business matters always followed proper celebration. It was not yet the time for questions. First came the stories. Amari reminded herself, starting to feel excited. As chief storyteller, Amari's father was highly respected. Komla knew every story, every proverb, every bit of tribal history, every told or sung or drummed by her people. He spoke at each birth, funeral, and wedding, as well as at unexpected special occasions like this. The villagers crowded around him in anticipation, although even the youngest child knew by heart every story he would tell. The strangers sat politely and waited. "Let me tell you of the wickedness of Chief Agokoli," her father began. "He was a wicked, wicked man." "Wicked!" the people responded with enthusiasm. "He would give the Iwi people impossible jobs like weaving baskets out of sand." "Impossible!" the villagers responded almost in unison. "The Iwi people finally found a means to escape from the wicked ruler," Komla recounted. "The people crept out through a hole in the wall and fooled the soldiers of Chief Agokoli." "And how did they do that?" he asked the crowd, who of course knew the question was coming, as well as the answer. "They walked backward in the dirt," the people responded enthusiastically. "And so they did," Komla said, ending his tale with a tapping on his drum. "They walked backward on the dirt path, so their footprints looked like the prints of someone arriving into the village, not departing." He looked over at Amari as he finished the tale with a wink he saved for her alone. Everyone in the small community, including Amari, laughed and clapped their hands at the familiar story. Amari loved her father's stories, and the sound of his deep, gravely voice had always made her feel safe, whether he was whispering silly noises in her ear, speaking formally in a meeting of the elders, or chatting with affection with her mother.